I freeze at the edge of the stone path, unable to process what I'm seeing. 3 men in work uniforms rip at the soil where my mother's prized Queen Elizabeth roses once stood. Mounds of uprooted plants lie scattered across the lawn, their roots exposed to the merciless California sun. "Stop!" my voice cracks. "What are you doing to my mother's roses?" The workers pause, glancing toward the red-headed woman supervising them from beneath a wide-brimmed straw hat. Celeste Monroe, correction. Celeste Blake now turns with the unhurried confidence of someone who believes they belong exactly where they stand. "Merritt, darling." Her coral lipstick parts in a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "I thought you'd be at work until 5. I came home early." The words stick in my throat as I step closer, surveying the destruction. 6 years of careful tending gone in an afternoon. "Why are you tearing out Mom's garden?" Celeste waves her hand dismissively. "These old-fashioned roses aren't my style. The garden needs updating." Bruno presses against my leg, his golden fur warm through my jeans. His low whine mirrors the churning in my stomach. "You can't just—" I search for my father, spotting him hovering near the pergola, examining a climbing rose as if it might hold answers to questions he doesn't want asked. "Dad?" He looks up, then immediately away, studying the Spanish tile beneath his feet. Celeste thought some new landscaping would freshen things up. Freshen things up? The words taste bitter. Mom spent 15 years cultivating these roses. And now I'll spend the next 15 making this space my own. Celeste adjusts her hat, squinting against the afternoon sun. Raymond and I discussed it. We agreed the house could use some modernizing. 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since my father showed up with Celeste on his arm, a fresh wedding band glinting on his finger. "Vegas was magical, Merritt," he'd announced, eyes bright with an enthusiasm I hadn't seen since before Mom died. "We were high school sweethearts, can you believe it? Reconnected at the reunion." I'd swallowed my hurt at being excluded from something so monumental and pasted on a smile. "Congratulations, Dad. That's sudden." "When you know, Celeste had said, patting my arm with cool, manicured fingers. What I didn't know then was that the moving trucks would arrive 3 days later, or that visiting meant Celeste's designer luggage would fill the guest closets, or that her twin daughters Tinsley and Marin would descend with matching chihuahuas that yapped incessantly at Bruno until he retreated to my bedroom. "It's just temporary, honey," Dad had explained, helping the movers position Celeste's white leather sectional where Mom's comfortable floral sofa had been. "The girls need to finish their semester without disruption." Now I step around a mound of dirt and kneel beside a discarded rosebush. Its apricot nectar blooms still perfect despite being ripped from the earth. These plants are alive. You can't just throw them away. The landscapers are taking them. Celeste checks her watch. "Really, Merritt, it's just plants. They can be replaced." But they can't. These roses were witnesses to my childhood, to my mother's life. I remember her kneeling in this garden, wide-brimmed hat protecting her fair skin, pruning shears in gloved hands as she taught me the difference between deadheading and pruning for growth. The garden stays. I stand, soil staining my knees. This is my house. Celeste's eyebrows arch. "Raymond, your daughter seems confused about our living arrangement." Dad finally approaches, hands shoved deep in his pockets. "Merritt, we're all family now. We need to make compromises." Compromise would have been discussing changes before destroying Mom's garden. Heat rises in my chest. "You know what this place meant to her, what it means to me." "Your mother has been gone for 6 years, he says softly, as if time should have erased my obligation to her memory. Life moves forward. I remember her last coherent day, the hospital bed we'd set up in the sunroom so she could see her beloved garden. Her fingers, so thin they barely made an impression, squeezing mine. "Promise me you'll take care of our home, Merritt. It's your legacy now." At 19, I'd inherited this Spanish revival house overlooking the Pacific, its citrus grove and rose garden, and the responsibility that came with it. Dad had signed away his claim, saying he couldn't bear to stay after losing her. Until now. Until Celeste. I turn away from them both and walk to the far corner of the garden where a bench sits beneath an arbor of climbing Cecile Brunner roses. Bruno follows, settling at my feet as I sink onto the weathered wood. "I won't let them take what's yours, Mom," I whisper, watching Celeste direct the workers to continue their destruction. "I promise." Next day, I stand frozen in the doorway, my laptop bag sliding from my shoulder to thump against the hardwood floor. Where my mother's gallery wall once displayed 30 years of family photographs, Celeste's enormous portrait now dominates the living room. Her twins flank her in matching white sundresses, their practiced smiles gleaming beneath the new brass picture light. What happened to our family photos? My voice sounds distant even to myself. Celeste emerges from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a crisp white apron that's replaced my mother's well-worn floral one. I box them up for safekeeping. She gestures toward the transformed space. This house needs a woman's touch, dear. It felt like a museum. My eyes travel to the mantel where Mom's antique crystal Visaya wedding gift from her grandmother has vanished. In its place sits a twisted metal sculpture that resembles nothing so much as an expensive tangle of wire. Where's Mom's vase? I move toward the fireplace, my fingers curling into fists. That old thing? Celeste adjusts a throw pillow, avoiding my eyes. I put it somewhere safe. That sculpture is from an emerging artist in San Francisco. Costs more than your car. Bruno presses against my leg, his warm presence the only familiar thing in this suddenly alien room. Dad appears from his study, his reading glasses perched on his nose. Merritt, you're home early. His smile falters as he notices my expression. Dad, these were Mom's things. I gesture to the stripped walls, the rearranged furniture, the absence of 30 years of our life together. You promised me when she died that her memory would be honored in this house. He removes his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Honey, we need to make room for our new family members. Celeste has excellent taste. Excellent taste would include respecting what was already here. I swallow hard against the knot in my throat. Where are the photos? In the garage, Dad mumbles, not meeting my eyes. The next morning, I logged into my most important client meeting of the month, a pitch that could secure a $4,500 contract from my design business. 3 minutes into my presentation, my office door swings open. Tins, have you seen my... Marin stops, noticing my video call. Oops. I mute myself quickly. I'm in a meeting, please close the door. She lingers, examining my shelves. Mom wanted me to ask if you have any more towels. The guest bathroom ones are threadbare. Garage linen closet, please. Is that anthropology wallpaper? My client's voice draws my attention back to the screen. I love the home office aesthetic. I unmute, forcing a smile. Yes, it's... The door bangs open again. Tinsley strolls through in a hot pink bikini, water dripping onto my sisal rug. Marin, are you coming? Jake and Tyler are waiting at the pool. My client's eyebrows shoot up. I watch her gaze track Tinsley as she saunters across my webcam view, popping her gum. Miss Blake, perhaps we should reschedule when you're less... occupied. The call ends before I can explain. $4,500, gone in 30 seconds. That evening, I discovered my mother's mahogany jewelry box open on Tinsley's dresser, her pearl earrings, the ones Dad gave Mom for their 20th anniversary, dangling from Tinsley's ears as she took bathroom selfies. Those aren't yours, I say from the doorway. She barely glances at me. Mom said we should make ourselves at home. Those pearls were my mother's most treasured possession. Relax, I'm just borrowing them. She pouts for her phone camera. Besides, they're just sitting there collecting dust. 2 days later, I return from a grocery run to find Bruno limping, blood matting the fur on his front paw. Celeste Chihuahua Versace yaps aggressively from his designer dog bed. What happened? I drop to my knees, examining Bruno's injured leg. Your dog got too close to Versace's food, Celeste says without looking up from her magazine. Versace was just protecting his territory. The vet bill comes to $275 for 3 stitches. I spend the night on the floor beside Bruno's bed, stroking his golden fur while he whimpers in his sleep. Your mother clearly raised you rather wild. Celeste comments the next morning when she finds me installing a lock on my office door. Sleeping on the floor with a dog? In my day, animals stayed outside. The lock clicks into place. I turn to face her. This is my home office. I need privacy for client meetings. My voice is steadier than I expected. And Bruno stays wherever I want him to stay. Celeste's lips thin to a coral line. Raymond, your daughter is making me feel unwelcome in our new home. Dad appears in seconds, anxiety creasing his forehead. Merritt, we're all family now. We need to... No, the word surprises us both. We're not all family. And this isn't your new home, Celeste. It's mine. Later that afternoon, Eleanor Whitman appears at my garden gate, her silver hair gleaming in the sunshine. Mom's best friend for 30 years leans on her cane, surveying the decimated rose beds. Your mother would be heartbroken, she says quietly. What exactly did your mother's will say, dear? Because I remember Catherine being very specific about the house. The question follows me through the evening as I dig through filing cabinets, searching for Mom's will. When my phone rings, James's familiar name lighting up the screen, I realize I've been crying. Hey, are you okay? His voice carries concern across the line. You sound terrible. I need to find Mom's will, I say, wiping my face. I think I'm about to go to war. 2 days later, the knocking starts at 7 in the morning. 3 sharp raps against my bedroom door, followed by Celeste's voice, sugar-coated but firm. Merritt, we need to discuss your living arrangements. I sit up, sheets pooling around my waist as Bruno lifts his head from the foot of the bed, ears perked in alert. Another workday ruined before it begins. I'm working, I call out, reaching for my laptop. Can we talk tonight? The door swings open without warning. Celeste stands framed in the doorway, already dressed in linen pants and a coral blouse, gold bangles clinking at her wrists. This can't wait, she says, surveying my room with obvious distaste. Raymond and I have decided we need your bedroom. My designer bags simply won't fit in the guest closet, and the lighting in here is much better for my morning routine. I blink, certain I've misheard. You want me to give up my bedroom? The blue room down the hall is perfectly adequate for a single person. She waves her hand dismissively. We'll need you moved by this weekend. The blue roomy mother's sewing space, barely large enough for a twin bed. My stomach knots as I imagine Bruno and me crammed into that tiny space while Celeste spreads her possessions through my sanctuary. No, I say, the word small but firm. This is my room. Her eyes narrow. This is becoming a pattern with you, Merritt. So territorial. So unwilling to accommodate family. The word family in her mouth sounds like a weapon. Bruno moves to stand beside me, his warm body pressing against my leg. I draw strength from his presence. This discussion is over, I say, closing my laptop. I have clients waiting. Her smile tightens. We'll see what your father thinks about your attitude. She leaves without closing the door. I know it's deliberately a small assertion of control. That night, bass pounds through the floorboards of my office, as Tinsley and Marin host what sounds like half their sorority. Laughter echoes up the stairwell, punctuated by the occasional crash of something breaking. I squeeze my eyes shut, trying to focus on the proposal due tomorrow morning. My phone buzzes with a text from my client. Still waiting on those mock-ups, Merritt. Everything okay? I type back an apology and promise delivery by midnight. As if on cue, a piercing shriek followed by hysterical laughter erupts from below. Bruno whines, his paws covering his ears. I stroke his head and whisper promises I'm not sure I can keep. Just a little longer, buddy, we'll figure this out. When I venture downstairs for coffee the next morning, I find Bruno's bed shredded in the corner of the kitchen, stuffing scattered across the tile. One of the chihuahuas, Prada or Gucci, I can never tell them apart, sits smugly on the counter, yapping when I enter. Your dog destroyed Bruno's bed, I tell Celeste, who sips her coffee at the breakfast table, scrolling through her phone. She doesn't look up. Dogs will be dogs. Your dog. Your responsibility. I hold up the tattered remains of Bruno's favorite toy. This is the 3rd one this week. She sighs dramatically. Perhaps Bruno should learn to share. The girls' dogs are just establishing territory. My father walks in, pouring himself coffee without meeting my eyes. Dad, this has to stop. Bruno was here first. He's being terrorized in his own home. Dad glances at Celeste before responding. Merritt, pets adjust. When I was a kid, our cat and dog fought for weeks before settling in. This isn't fighting, this is destruction. I drop the shredded toy on the table. And it's not just about Bruno. Yesterday I found Mom's photo albums in the garage with water damage. Celeste sets down her phone. Those old albums were cluttering the living room. This house needs updating, not shrines to the past. Something snaps inside me. This house isn't yours to update. From now on, Celeste says, voice hardening, I'll be making the house rules around here. Your father agrees it's time for some structure. Dad shifts uncomfortably but says nothing. The betrayal burns hot in my chest. That afternoon, I sat in Amy Watson's downtown office, surrounded by law books and the faint scent of lemon polish. The estate lawyer studies the documents spread before her, occasionally making notes on a yellow legal pad. Well, she says finally, looking up over reading glasses. The situation is quite clear. The house is solely in your name, Merritt. Your father signed a waiver relinquishing all future claims to the property after your mother's death. I stare at the document, my father's signature bold against the legal language. He can't just move people in without my permission? No, Amy says firmly. Legally speaking, they're all guests in your home. Guests you can ask to leave at any time. Relief floods through me, followed immediately by guilt. I can't throw my own father out. Your father is welcome to stay, of course, but his new wife and her daughters have no legal right to be there without your consent. Amy removes her glasses. I'd recommend giving them formal 30-day notice. It protects you legally if things get messy. On the drive home, I stop at Eleanor's house. My mother's oldest friend welcomes me with fresh lemonade on her patio overlooking the ocean. Bruno settles at my feet, finally relaxed away from the chihuahuas. Your mother faced situations like this, Eleanor says after I explain everything. People who tried to take advantage of her kindness. I never saw her stand up to anyone, I admit. Eleanor smiles, the afternoon sun highlighting the silver in her hair. That's because she handled things quietly but firmly. Catherine was steel wrapped in silk. She reaches for my hand. She knew you would need that strength someday. Check the false bottom of her jewelry box. That night, after everyone has gone to bed, I pull out my mother's rosewood jewelry box. My fingers find the hidden catch, revealing a compartment beneath the velvet lining. Inside lies a sealed envelope addressed in my mother's flowing script. My daughter, when you need courage. My hands tremble as I break the seal. Dearest Merritt, if you're reading this, you're facing something that feels impossible. Remember that our home isn't just walls and a roof, it's the boundaries we create to protect what matters. Some people will test those boundaries, believing their desires trump your needs. They are wrong. You've always tried to accommodate others, my sweet girl. It's a beautiful quality until it becomes self-erasure. Your grandmother once told me, be a doormat only if you want footprints on your back. Stand firm, you are stronger than you know. All my love, Mom. I press the letter to my chest, tears blurring my vision. In my mother's bedroom, now Celeste's domain, I hear drawers opening, whispered conversations. Something inside me hardens into resolve. The next morning, I installed a small camera in my office bookshelf, angled toward my desk. James helps me document every valuable thing in the house with photographs, while Eleanor stores irreplaceable keepsakes in her guest house. You're doing the right thing, James says, squeezing my hand as we inventory my mother's silver. That night, my phone pings with an alert from the camera. On the screen, Celeste and the twins rifle through my desk drawers, pulling out bank statements and legal documents. Look at this, Celeste whispers, holding up my property tax statement. The house is worth way more than Raymond said. The twins giggle, snapping photos of my financial information with their phones. I watch, anger burning clean and clarifying, washing away months of doubt. Tomorrow, I will make my stand. The silver serving tray feels cool against my palms as I balance 3 steaming mugs of coffee. I've added cream to Celeste's exactly how she likes it and left Ray's black. A manila envelope rests beside the sugar bowl, corners perfectly aligned with the tray's edge. Good morning, family. My voice rings through the kitchen with an unfamiliar confidence. Celeste looks up from her phone, coral lipstick already perfect at 7:30 in the morning. Someone's chipper today. I place the tray on the table with surgical precision. I made coffee. Thank you, honey. Dad reaches for his mug, his eyes darting between me and the envelope. I slide into the chair across from Celeste, Bruno settling at my feet. I also brought something else. What's this? Celeste's manicured fingers tap the envelope. 30-day notices. Formally requesting you and the twins vacate the premises by July 20th. Coffee sloshes over the rim of Celeste's mug as she jerks back. You can't be serious. Perfectly serious. I sip my coffee, savoring the bitter warmth. You can't evict your own father. Her voice rises an octave. Dad is welcome to stay. I place my mug down, meeting her gaze. You and your daughters are not. Ray's face drains of color. Merritt, this is legally binding. I slide another paper toward him. Amy helped me prepare everything properly. Celeste snatches the notice, scanning the text with narrowing eyes. This is ridiculous. The girls will be homeless mid-semester. Better start looking. I check my watch. Clock's ticking. The kitchen door bangs open as Tinsley stumbles in, silk pajamas rumpled, blonde hair in disarray. What's all the yelling about? Your stepsister is trying to throw us out, Celeste spits. What? Tinsley's jaw drops. You can't do that. Actually, I can. I stand, smoothing my blouse. This house belongs to me. Not to Dad, not to Celeste, and certainly not to you. This family needs therapy, Celeste declares, reaching for her phone. I'm calling Dr. Bergman right now. We need to heal these divisions. This isn't about healing. I tuck my chair neatly under the table. It's about boundaries. Ray! Celeste turns to my father, voice breaking. Your wife would never want this. Catherine would be heartbroken to see her daughter behaving this way. The mention of Mom's name freezes my blood. I watch Dad's face, waiting. Don't, he says quietly. Don't use Catherine to manipulate the situation. Something shifts in Celeste's eyes, a flicker of panic. We had an agreement, Ray. You said we could stay permanently. I said you could stay until you found a place, Dad corrects, avoiding her gaze. I never promised this would be permanent. I've already cataloged everything in the house worth over $500. I inform them, pulling out my phone to show the inventory app. The security company installed cameras yesterday, and Mom's jewelry is in a safety deposit box now. Celeste's mouth opens and closes. For once, she has nothing to say. I'll be home all week, I continue. I've taken personal days to ensure everything goes smoothly during this transition period. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Celeste hisses. I learned from the best. I smile thinly. My mother always said preparation prevents poor performance. Later, Dad finds me in the garden, pruning the few roses I managed to salvage. Can we talk? His hands twist nervously. I gesture to the bench. Bruno settles between us, his warm weight against my leg. I was flattered by the attention, Dad admits after a long silence. After 6 years alone, having someone want me again felt good. The pruning shears snip with satisfying precision. I'm not forcing you to choose, Dad, but I am forcing her to leave. He nods slowly. I found her going through my financial documents last night. Are you surprised? I should have been. He rubs his face. But no, I'm not. Inside, doors slam as the twins argue about where they might go. Through the kitchen window, I see Celeste pacing, phone pressed to her ear, gesturing wildly. I turn away, focusing on the climbing Cecile Brunner rosebush, the one I refused to let them remove. A tiny pink bud has formed where I pruned last week. Bruno nuzzles my hand and I scratch behind his ears. We're taking our house back, I whisper to him. Dad rises heavily from the bench. I'll be in my workshop. I watch him go, his shoulders rounded with the weight of his choices. For the first time in weeks, I take a deep breath that doesn't feel like drowning. In the corner of the garden, I've already reclaimed Mom's reading nook. Her weathered wicker chair, the small side table, the stained glass lantern will return to their rightful places. The rest will follow. One room, one day at a time. A week later, the certified letter lands on my desk with the weight of ammunition. I slide my finger under the flap and pull out heavy cream stationery embossed with Randall, Wexler and Associates, attorneys at law. My stomach tightens as I scan the contents. Tenant rights, established residency, legal action if harassment continues. The words blur together in a symphony of threats. I snatch my phone. Amy, they're claiming tenant rights now. Amy's voice remains steady. I expected this. Schedule an emergency meeting today, if possible. Their attorney, your father, everyone. My office at 4. 2 hours later, I stand in Amy's conference room, Bruno pressed against my leg. The oak table stretches between us like a battlefield. Celeste sits flanked by her daughters and a silver-haired man with a leather portfolio who introduces himself as Gregory Wexler, Esquire. Dad shifts uncomfortably in his chair beside them, avoiding my eyes. Amy arranges documents with methodical precision, her gray bob swinging as she moves. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. Celeste's smile doesn't reach her eyes. We're eager to resolve this misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding, Mrs. Blake. Amy slides a document across the polished surface. This is the deed to the property at 1426 Montecito Heights. As you can see, it's solely in Merritt Blake's name. Mr. Wexler adjusts his glasses. My client has established tenancy through continuous occupancy and verbal agreement with Mr. Blake. Regarding that point, Amy produces another document, this one bearing my father's signature. This is Raymond Blake's legal waiver, signed 6 years ago, relinquishing all current and future claims to the property. The twins exchange glances. Dad stares at his hands. Furthermore, Amy continues, pulling out a folder, California law requires written consent from the property owner for establishing tenancy. Miss Blake never provided such consent. I watch Celeste's face. The mask of polite concern slips, revealing something hard underneath. This is ridiculous, she snaps. Raymond invited us to live there permanently. Raymond had no legal authority to make that offer, Amy replies. Mr. Wexler taps his pen against his legal pad. My clients have invested considerable funds in property improvements. Destruction isn't an improvement, I say, pulling out my phone. Here's what my mother's rose garden looked like before and after your improvements. I slide the phone across the table. The twins lean forward, then back away as if the images might burn them. You ungrateful brat, Celeste's voice rises, her perfect coral lipstick twisting. After all we've done for you, living in that museum to your mother, refusing to move forward? Celeste. Dad's voice cuts through her tirade. I've never heard that tone from him before. She turns to him, eyes widening. You can't possibly be taking her side. Dad looks at me, then back at his wife. Something shifts in his expression, the fog of infatuation lifting to reveal clarity. This was Catherine's home, he says quietly. Our daughter's home now. I had no right to give it away. Celeste's face hardens. You're choosing her over me? I'm choosing the truth. Dad straightens his shoulders. I was wrong to bring you there. The conference room falls silent. Bruno shifts against my legs, sensing the change. The eviction notice stands, Amy says, gathering her papers. 30 days from original service. That gives you, she checks her calendar, 2 weeks remaining. This isn't over, Celeste hisses, gathering her purse. Actually, it is. I pull out one final document. This is security footage from my bedroom showing you and your daughters searching through my financial records last Tuesday while I was at work. Mr. Wexler's expression changes. I'll need a moment with my clients. The next 2 weeks pass in tense silence around the house. Celeste and the twins spend most of their time shopping, pointedly ignoring the stack of moving boxes I placed in the foyer. No suitcases appear. No packing begins. On day 30, I wake early. Celeste's Mercedes disappears down the driveway at 9, the twins in tow, likely for their weekly manicures. I make the call I've been waiting to make. By noon, a locksmith has replaced every exterior lock. A security technician recodes the alarm system under my credentials only. Eleanor brings lunch and moral support, settling on the porch swing with Bruno. At 2 o'clock, Sheriff Deputy Wilson arrives, clipboard in hand. All personal belongings have been properly gathered? He asks. I nod toward the driveway where Celeste's possessions sit neatly boxed and labeled. The larger furniture waits under tarps, protected from the marine layer rolling in from the ocean. Everything documented and witnessed, I confirm. We don't wait long. The Mercedes screeches into the driveway at 2:47. Celeste emerges, shopping bags dangling from her wrists. She freezes when she spots the deputy. What is this? She demands, striding toward the front door. Her key slides uselessly against the new lock. Your 30 days ended at noon, I say from the porch. As legally required, your belongings have been removed. You can't do this, she pounds on the door. Raymond, open this door right now. Mr. Blake moved to the Montecito Inn yesterday. Deputy Wilson informs her, checking his clipboard. He left this for you. The letter I'd watched Dad write the night before, his hand trembling slightly as he sealed it. Tinsley and Marin emerge from the car, faces paling as they spot their possessions. My Gucci bags. You threw them outside? Marin shrieks. Everything has been properly packed and inventoried, the deputy says, handing Celeste a document. This itemizes all belongings present. Please verify before removing them. Celeste's face contorts. This is criminal. I'll sue you for everything you have. I have security footage of you searching my bedroom. I reply calmly. Financial documents you attempted to access. Veterinary bills from when your dog attacked Bruno. Witness statements about property damage. And my father's formal statement confirming my ownership. Something collapses in Celeste's expression. The facade of genteel control crumbles completely. You'll regret this, she sputters, but the threat sounds hollow. As the twins frantically call friends, faces flushed with embarrassment, neighbors peek from windows and gardens. The social standing Celeste cultivated these past weeks evaporates in the afternoon sun. I remain on the porch, Bruno beside me, as they load the Mercedes with what it can hold. A friend arrives for the twins in a small Honda. Another car comes for some furniture. Eleanor joins me as the last vehicle pulls away. The sun breaks through the marine layer, casting long shadows across the lawn. "Your mother is smiling down on you today," she says softly. I look at the garden where tiny green shoots are already pushing through the soil where I replanted the rescued roses. "Yes," I whisper. "I think she is." A year later, the morning sunlight streams through the kitchen windows as I arrange a centerpiece of freshly cut roses for the Easter brunch table. Pink and apricot Queen Elizabeth blooms. Mom's favorites mingle with the pale yellow of peace roses in a crystal vase that once belonged to my grandmother. The familiar scent wraps around me like a hug. "Those look perfect," James says, sliding his arms around my waist. He plants a kiss on my neck, then reaches to adjust one slightly drooping bloom. "Your mom would love seeing them back where they belong." I lean into his embrace. It feels right having everyone here today. Through the French doors, I watch Bruno race across the lawn, his golden coat gleaming in the sunshine. No sign of the limp that plagued him after Celeste's chihuahua attacked his leg. He stops to roll luxuriously in a patch of grass, then bounds up to greet Eleanor as she makes her way up the garden path, a covered dish in her hands. "I brought Catherine's carrot cake," she announces, setting the dish on the counter. "Made exactly from her recipe." Eleanor surveys the kitchen, approval warming her blue eyes. The house feels like itself again. "That's the highest compliment," I tell her, accepting her hug. James slips away to help his parents unload food from their car while I lead Eleanor into the living room. Family photos once again line the mantel. Mom and Dad on their honeymoon in Hawaii, my college graduation, Bruno as a puppy. The walls have returned to the soft sage green Mom chose, rather than Celeste's stark white. "Have you heard from your father?" Eleanor asks, settling into what was always her favorite armchair. "He called yesterday." I straighten a photo frame. "He's bringing dessert." Eleanor's eyebrows lift slightly. "It's been good, our talks." I sit across from her. The therapist helped me understand that his grief made him vulnerable. Not an excuse, but a reason. "Your mother always said you had her backbone and her father's capacity for forgiveness." The doorbell rings and Bruno tears through the house, barking joyfully. I open the door to find Dad standing awkwardly on the porch, holding a bakery box. "Apple dumplings," he says, extending the box. "Remember how we'd get them after your dance recitals?" "How could I forget? You'd always ask for extra caramel sauce." I step back, welcoming him in. His eyes widen at the sight of the living room restored to its former warmth. "It looks like home again." That was the point. Conversation flows easily as more guests arrive. Valerie brings her new boyfriend. James's parents chat with Eleanor about gardening. I move between groups, refilling glasses, accepting compliments on the house's transformation. Later, as twilight falls, we gather in the garden. The newly planted roses stretch toward the setting sun, their first blooms unfurling. Bruno lies contentedly at my feet, occasionally lifting his head to accept a gentle pat from a passing guest. Eleanor raises her glass. "To Catherine Blake, whose strength lives on in her daughter." "To Mom," I whisper as James squeezes my hand. Dad approaches as the others drift toward the dessert table. "Your mother would be proud. Not just of the house, but of you standing your ground." He hesitates. I let nostalgia blind me. "I'm sorry." "We're finding our way back," I tell him, and mean it. Later, after everyone leaves, I sit alone in the garden with Mom's journal open on my lap and Bruno's head resting heavy against my knee. Tomorrow, the living room will host the first meeting of my support group for young adults navigating family boundaries. The house that was nearly taken from me will become a sanctuary for others. "We did it, Mom," I whisper to the stars beginning to appear above the roses. "We protected what matters."